Good morning. Please be seated. A couple of weeks ago, I was reading a children's book to my grandson titled something like, "What is Christmas All About?" The book answers that question by saying it's not about presents or trees or cookies or Santa Claus. Instead, the book states that Christmas is all about Jesus' birthday, a new king being born. It ends with a cake with some candles on it. I think it had 3, not a few thousand. And some children joyfully shouting, "Happy birthday, Jesus!" That version of the story rings true with the gospel reading we heard on Christmas Eve from Luke. The census, the trip to Bethlehem, the birth of the manger, the shepherds in the field, the angels singing in the sky. You know the story. If you missed the Christmas Eve telling, you can always catch the Luke highlights in the Charlie Brown Christmas. The children's book I read also rings true with our nativity display right over here. Happy birthday, Jesus. So true. And yet, you knew there was going to be an "and yet" coming, didn't you? And yet, happy birthday, Jesus misses much of what Christmas is all about, and why Christmas needs at least a 12-day season and not just a single birthday party. Today's readings take us into a deeper, and I argue, far more important answer to what Christmas is all about. Today's readings tell us that Christmas is all about our relationship to God, or, to put it even better, God's incredible desire to be in relationship to God's creation. God sought us out right from the start, right from our early beginning of our story with God in the Garden of Eden. God is out looking for Adam and Eve to hang out with and have a beer, or a coffee, or a glass of wine, or a cup of tea, or sparkling water. I will stick with beer for my example, but you're free to substitute your own personal socializing beverage. Humanity and the state, and maybe more of a creation, but I don't know their story. They decide they don't need such a close relationship with God. Thank you very much. God continues to seek us and calls Abram. God makes a covenant with Abram. God will be Abram's God, and Abram and his descendants will be God's people. Abraham, who becomes Abraham, talks with God often. He even argues with God. But Abraham and God frequently have beer together. This covenant, or relationship promise, is one of the 3 main themes of the Torah. The Torah, for those unfamiliar, is also known as the books of Moses, or the first 5 books of the Bible. The relationship promise is the main Torah theme, and the 2 other themes flow out of this promise. The second main theme is ethics: hospitality, care for the widow and orphan, and the like. You will adopt these ethics if you are in a loving relationship with God, with one another, and with all creation. The third main theme of the Torah is the code. Circumcision as an initiation rite. How many steps can it take on the Sabbath before I violate keeping the Sabbath? And such. The code is the day-to-day rules you follow to try to keep the ethics to be worthy of the promise. Notice that last phrase. We, you, I, all humanity, we saw the steps as 1, follow the code, 2, keep the ethics, 3, worthy of the promise. We got it backwards. God intended us to 1, live in the promise, where we would 2, naturally adopt the ethics, and 3, act daily in behaviors like the code. But we chose to put the rules first. Keep this backward idea that following the code makes us worthy of the promise when you hear Paul talk about the law. But back to God seeking us. God sought us and calls Moses. God and Moses hang out and have beer on the mountain so long that when Moses comes down, he's even glowing. He finds the Israelites worshiping a golden calf and complaining how the beer was way better back in Egypt. God sought us speaking to the prophets. When God asked, "Who can make a beer run?" Isaiah says, "Here I am, send me." In our first reading from Isaiah, we hear the prophet talk about living in the promise, the desired relationship of mutual love between God and creation. God sought us, and we kept slipping away. Why? Well, no one quite knows the reason. It could be our heads weren't screwed on just right. It could be, perhaps, that our shoes were too tight. But I think the most likely reason of all that our heart may have been 2 sizes too small. Okay, I had to get a little Dr. Seuss's bridge in. But there's truth here. Our heart can be 2 sizes too small. When our heart lives outside of the Torah promise, it is 2 sizes too small. When we think God cannot possibly want to be in a relationship with us, it is 2 sizes too small. When we think God is a high and mighty king in God's throne, and we are unworthy peasants far away from the castle, our heart is 2 sizes too small. God, wanting a relationship with creation, decided to stop seeking us. Instead, God executed a 2-step plan. Step 1, God became us. Incarnation is just a fancy word that means that the fullness of God became present in Jesus of Nazareth. In the words of today's gospel, God has moved into our neighborhood. Maybe it's the fixer-upper next door. Maybe it's the spare bedroom with God's toothbrush in the toothbrush holder. Maybe it's in the heart that is 2 sizes too small. In step 1 of the 2 steps, God has taken the Torah promise and put it on steroids. We call this the New Covenant. It's not really new as in never been before. God has always desired a relationship with creation. What makes it new is that the Incarnation pulls all creation into the Trinity's relationship of life and love. What was a dualism, God and creation being in separate spheres, got merged. That's what Paul in the second reading is getting at when he says we've been adopted into God's family. Through the 2-step plan, God has removed all barriers to us participating in the Trinitarian life of love. And that's why Paul is so ticked that the churches in Galatia are listening to those who are insisting that the code, you remember the code, that nagging manual, the code law, must be followed to bridge the dualism that God and Jesus wiped out. God's 2-step plan makes us worthy of the Torah promise, not the code. But we keep trying to be worthy of the promise by following the code. And we end up like Charlie Brown in a Charlie Brown Christmas. Alone, feeling like a failure, unable to live the code, who shouts, "Isn't there anyone who knows what Christmas is all about?" Maybe Linus's words from Luke, the King James Version English, will tell us the good news that God has joined creation. Happy birthday, Jesus. Or maybe we need Linus to go a bit deeper when he calls for light schemes. And sing us the start of the 3rd verse, because anyone remembers the 3rd verse, of O Little Town of Bethlehem. How silently, the wondrous gift is given. So God imparts to human hearts the blessings of his heaven. Or maybe we need to switch holiday animated specials and go back to the Grinch. The Grinch, whose heart is 2 sizes too small, tries to stop the whose celebration by stealing what he thinks is the code. Got the meaning of the code, thinks the Grinch. The who's will all cry, boo-hoo, as they are kept from living in the promise of Christmas. Yet when he listens, he hears the who's singing, perhaps O Little Town of Bethlehem. The who's are living in the promise without the code. This makes the Grinch stop and consider new possibilities. We join the Grinch when this Grinch recites cold in the snow, pondering how could it be so. Then the Grinch thinks of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thinks, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas perhaps means a little bit more. Maybe God's love doesn't depend on a code. Maybe God has come here to make God's abode. What happened then? Well, in Google, they say that the Grinch is smart. There were 3 sizes to that. That's what Christmas is all about, Charlie Brown. Christmas is God's executing step 1 of God's 2-step plan. God is entering into creation to lock in relationship, to create Torah promise plus. This is the good news that the angels say. Emmanuel, God with us. Or as John said, God becomes flesh and dwells among us. Or as Paul said this morning, we are no longer a slave to the code, but the heir of God. Or as Isaiah said, God has saved us, God's actions make us right with God. Christmas is the good news of God pulling creation. All of it. The good, the bad, the beautiful, the ugly, all of it into the Trinity. On this 4th day of Christmas, calling birds for those already singing in their heads. May we go beyond the happy birthday Jesus moment and allow the good news of Christmas to go our hearts 3 sizes today. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Oh, if you're wondering about step 2 of the 2-step plan, come back and listen during Holy Week. After the events of Good Friday, you could maybe hear God say, you think death is powerful enough to break your participation in the Trinitarian love fest? Hold my hand.
It is the support of people like you that enables the various ministries of Episcopal Church of the Redeemer in Kenmore, Washington. Join us in person, in prayer, and in giving financially. To give financially one time, scan this QR code. All are welcome to participate fully at Church of the Redeemer. All races, all religions, all countries of origin, all sexual orientations, including LGBTQ+, and all genders. Church of the Redeemer, worshiping God, living in community, and reaching out to the world. We are an Episcopal church serving North King County and South Snohomish County, Washington. As you travel your road, go with friends walking the way of Jesus at Redeemer. The Episcopal Church welcomes you.